I just think about every single generation that goes through will one day not be the new guy.
Hmm.
So you're going to be living in whatever world the new generation brings up, no matter what, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
There's nobody who's 80 right now that's living in a world that they designed for where they are right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, for sure. I think maybe the why that line connected so much is because with technology and everything going like it's going. I mean, for instance, our parents, actually, our grandparents are well, parents or grandparents are the last generation of full humans. So, we're not going to be full humans. You have the transhuman movement coming. I mean, Elon Musk is within 10 years away of the Neuralink, which is going to be a chip in the brain.
Wild.
Oh yeah, we have AI. General AI is
Ah!
is coming close.
Yeah.
So that's that's where
It's crazy.
I
It is
take
pretty
that.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is an
Every single sci-fi book, film, short story is
coming
coming to
true.
fruition. It's wild.
Yeah,
I mean, someone thought of it back then, and then smart enough people came around that they're like, "That was a cool idea. Let's make it happen."
yeah. Well, Warren was telling me Brave New World was written in like 1934, something like that.
I took a class at Vandy called Virtual Worlds and Augmented Realities, and we one of the short stories we read is called The Machine Stops. And so many things that happened during COVID, like people's fear of touching each other, the fear of human contact,
Hmm.
um, the the chastising of people for human contact, that all was in that short story. And
Really?
it was such a weird piece of the story that I hadn't thought that much about after the class. And then when that happened, I was like, this is how people could end up in isolated pods in a machine. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to read the story for it to fully make sense, but it's interesting to watch these dystopian novels or futuristic horror stories be like, "Wait, this is
Well,
kinda how it's
yeah,
going."
1984. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, it's
it's pretty
still
wild.
George
I mean,
Orwell.
one of the quotes that I think about is the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is human connection. And so you think about and that's
That's
for,
cool.
um, you know, uh, that was in the context of like alcoholism or drug use. But you think about the addiction of the internet.
Mhm.
And so as we become more and more on our phones, if you look at the hours on your phone, social media or
It's so
any of those
high.
things, and then as society is getting more and more disconnected.
Mhm.
So it makes me think about that. Like, you think about, I was talking to Dedrick, Dedrick, my business partner. We were talking about leadership. And he said, leadership is the algorithm. And that's who's leading the thought because you're being fed things on social media based off
Mhm.
of what you're doing or the things that interest you. And
Mhm.
so then you get this confirmation bias because that's all you're getting fed.
Mhm.
And so as that happens and we get this confirmation bias, we become, in many ways more and more disconnected because we think, oh, they're the bad people over there. Whereas if you were just able to talk to people, you'd probably realize we have a lot more shared values than they'd think.
I don't know how exactly to fix the the problem, but it's definitely a problem.
Yeah,
And I think about how I'd like to think of myself as a pretty disciplined person. Even I get sucked in to the vortex of it and just find
sure.
myself an hour later. I mean, I've had to put timers on all of the social media platforms because for my job, have to be on these platforms. I mean, it really is directly related to my monetary income. Like, I have to be on these platforms.
Of course.
And so I'm like, I'm logging on to edit something and post it, and then something comes on that's funny, or somebody sends me a message of a video and I get pulled into it. And somehow I end up on the For You page, and it's all things that are catered to my exact
Yep.
tastes. It's stuff that I think is funny. It's stuff that I think is interesting. It's people who I want to know what's happening in their life. So all of these things are, yeah, one after the other, things I'm interested in. So of course I'm gonna stay on, and then before you know it, it's like, "Oh my gosh, how'd that just happen? I didn't mean to do that." And if
Yeah.
I can get sucked into that, I just feel like it's everybody can, anybody can, because I don't have a highly addictive personality,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I've never been somebody that's not able to kind of just cold turkey cut something out.
Yeah.
This one is a different ball game because it's
Yes.
so catered to each person specifically.
It is, and I I wonder how it's going to, like, form our kids' minds because if they're at it from an early age, it's an addiction. I mean, it's, a dopamine hit every time you open it up or you look.
Mhm.
And when we get off of the podcast, one of the first things we're both probably gonna do is look at our DMs or look at our texts or, that's not
Right.
normal, though. Imagine a kid as their brain is forming. We were outside playing and,
Mhm.
you know
Every interaction you have is being judged,
Yeah,
and if you didn't post about it, did it really happen?
yeah,
I mean, it's a bizarre. I'm thankful that I was in the pre-social media
yeah,
world as a little kid, riding a four-wheeler around the backyard like that, fishing with my cousins. Totally different than what you see now, but I still think that if you if you enforce the no iPad rule or the only this much screen time a day rule with your kids, they still have interests from their own natural instincts to go do fun things outside. I think that if a parent really doesn't wanna deal with their kid and just hands them a screen that's like, "Please just distract yourself so that I can do whatever I need to do," then yeah, that kid's not gonna understand how much fun they could be having with their friends outside. But but I feel like I still see a ton of kids out just distracting themselves, playing in the sprinklers and doing stuff like that, and I think it just all comes down to if they know that that is out there, they're gonna prefer that to sitting on a screen up until a certain age level when you start caring so much about what people think.
yeah.
And I don't know what age it is when that's what starts happening, but I feel like it's probably, like, maybe 5th grade? What is that, like,
10,
11?
11, yeah.
Um, that's when I'm like, "Okay, maybe the whole screen time thing and interaction needs to start really being monitored as, like, this can't be your everyday, every hour
No.
reaction to whatever you're doing. Like, go play your soccer game."
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how all that evolves as well because, right now we have, like with ChatGPT 4, it's pretty smart. Well, it's really smart, but it's also only good as the information that it has. So, but once we reach the general AI where it's smarter, then it can disseminate all the information in the world and come up with better conclusions than humans in, a millisecond or whatever.
Mhm.
Uh, we're going to be, we're going to have an interesting choice. Like, do we, do we give in to the matrix or, do we not?